Hi, and thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you to all my new subscribers and my long-time subscribers. I can almost already say that. And let me get right to it. So this is my review of the 4th month of the Milan Art Mastery Program, which is already part 2, mixed media. And I feel a lot more in home ground. This is amazing. So many times during this month I thought, oh my god, I just love painting so much. And I mean, that sounds obvious, but while I always enjoyed painting in the first 3 months, this is a whole different ballgame now. Also because you get to choose your own sources if you want. It still provides sources, but I really strongly suggest you don't, because I mean, that whole thing of what to paint already is such an essential thing, and I think the sooner you try to come up with your own things, the better. And I find that I was a little bit helpless. That is the truth, and I'm owning that truth. But I also think I learned a lot about myself because of that, because like that whole confusing question, what am I going to paint if I get to paint whatever I want? It's huge. So the sooner you confront that big question, the better. Tip number 1, I suggest you do choose your own sources. In this whole mixed media film part, the way it's built up is that every week you get to play with a different kind of technique. And I strongly suggest you let yourself play. I always say play before you plan. Like if you don't play, you don't even know what's possible. So I at first thought now, because now I already get to choose my sources, it's gonna have to be spot on. I always try to be ahead, which is silly, because the journey is the important part, right? So I already tried to jump ahead and have my style now. It's like, where from? And so I decided, no, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go for completely different things and just see what happens. This whole mixed media section, I think that's going to stay true. Maybe it's going to stay true for life, actually. If you don't play, you don't know what's possible. And planning is such a left brain thing, and playing is such a right brain thing. And we want to get to as much right brain world as we possibly can. I was super helpless the first time I decided what to paint. And you'll see, I mean, the artwork around me is all quite different stuff. But I need to get that out of me to know where my heart beats most. Right now, it still kind of beats all over the place, but that's fine, right? I only have 7 artworks. There's less painting and there's a lot more like soul searching. There's a lot of questions to answer, a lot of finding out who you are, and that stuff is gold. Oh my goodness, that is such gold. I tell you, and I thought I've done a lot of personality searching, and I've gotten rid of a lot of crap already in my life, and a lot of behaviors that weren't serving me, and mindset things. I've done so much of that, and still, wow, this has been so eye-opening. And in finding out more about who I am as an artist, it carries into my everyday life. I'm even in everyday life much more self-confident about who I am. So this is really, it's great. It's great. So I still don't really have any complaints about the program. So if that's what you want to hear, you can turn off right now. But I would love for you to stick around and watch what we were told to do and see what tips I have to give. So this bird was the only painting I did during that week, which is section 1 of part 2, which is just acrylics with oil on top. And wow, you kind of have to relearn how to paint, even though even I have painted a little bit with acrylics before, but now after 3 months of oil painting, it's so different. And it's like, and then after you're done with the acrylics and you take the oil back out, it's like you don't know how to paint anymore. It's been really weird. And I thought, because I was eager to paint a lot, I thought I was going to be able to make more than one painting. I even have proof to show you. Started canvases for, they were all going to be birds. They were going to be 3 birds. So I would have had like a mini series. Yeah, no, didn't happen because there was so much other stuff to do. And the week was shorter because we came back from Easter. By the way, coming back from breaks, my goodness, theoretically there would have been a 2-week break. I only took the 4 days that I had from Easter. I can't imagine what it feels like after 2 weeks of a break. Because even after 4 days, it was like, wow, okay, I haven't painted in so long. That's funny, isn't it? So this painting is actually the last one on canvas. And after that, you paint on paper. Second week are these two, which is inks. So the first layer is inks. Then you put acrylics and oil on top. I'm going to show you a really ugly, well, it's not a painting. I was just trying out inks. I mean, I'm actually already quite familiar with inks. So I already knew a lot of what I like and what I don't like. But, you know, I wanted to let myself play before planning. And I actually made a video of how I then later used this for something else, which is to find good compositions. So you can watch that other video about compositions. Now this and that I made on paper that I've already had. It's called mixed media paper, and I would have thought it's fine, right? Because we're doing mixed media. So they suggest what kind of paper you use, and it's amazing because the paper they suggest is a lighter weight than the mixed media papers that I have. So I didn't trust that that paper was going to be good, but I ordered it anyway. Super expensive. I mean, compared to this. This has deckled edges and it's 100% cotton. And see how this one, no matter how strong the paper is, it warps and warps and warps and warps. That's why I expected to be really annoyed about having to use paper. But the moment the good paper arrived, I was really pleased. So, buy the paper they suggest. Read well what it is that it needs to be, because it makes a huge, huge difference. Also the tape. I was experimenting here a little bit anyway, but I think it's called Frog's tape in the States, which we don't get. But it is tape that is removable, or at least that doesn't take half of the paper along when you pull it off. So get the expensive tape, it's worth it. So with this, I didn't like it very much. I painted my third cat because I felt it's unfair, because I painted Queenie and I painted Zorro, and this is Oscar, my third cat. And black cats are so hard to photograph because of that black fur, but I've always been fascinated about all the colors that are in that fur. So I thought, well, for painting it could be quite good. So I painted Oscar, for lack of knowing what else to paint, really, too. I call this painting Cat's Dream. And I really didn't like it. After I did the acrylics over the ink, didn't like it. And I couldn't really quite tell why. I mean, it has to do with realism, and I don't really want to do realism. I'm so annoyed at realism. I don't know. And then I thought maybe it's because it's weird, because it's larger than life, but not that much larger than life. And I was just going to abandon this painting. Also because it's on the wrong paper and everything, you know. But I thought, well, I should go over with oil anyway. And it made such a big difference. I am going to hopefully show you the 3 stages now. First, we just had the ink layer. Then we had the acrylics over ink. And then now, lastly, I did put the oil on top, and I think it makes a huge difference. So always, always, this is actually a Milan art tip, always, always do a last layer of oil. It doesn't have to be a lot. Even just a little bit of glazing, a little bit of highlights, a little bit of darks. That oil over acrylic, it makes such a huge difference. And then for the second ink paper, I had to increase my easel But I had to add height to it. Not only that, I also had to add a little stepping stool. This little thing here, when I was painting on top, to be more comfortable. But I tell you, I had so much fun because painting large is like one of the things I know I want to do, because for me, the larger the canvas, the looser I can be. So I suggest that if you want to practice looseness, oh my God, go for big sizes. Even though I think they would have suggested a half sheet. So this is twice as big as what they suggest. But from here on, like, things kind of took off with me already, and I'm like, I just want to be me, you know. So I did an underlayer of inks, and then just kind of did these, I call this painting Windows to the Soul. I don't know, the titles of paintings, they usually just kind of come to me while I'm painting. I had a really great time doing this. Now, something, if you're watching this and you are planning on doing the Mastery program, or maybe you're just a few steps still behind this, you are gonna need a flat surface for inks, also for other things later. And that, I know that's an issue for some people. Not everybody has the luxury of a real art studio. Also, if you live in a small place, you might not even have a table that's big enough for this. Just so that you know that in advance, organize somewhere. I mean, it can be the floor too. You are gonna need something other than the easel, somewhere where you can lay things flat for this part. Even for me, I do have a large table. The problem for me is how to let it dry, because you can stand a canvas against, you know, walls, and it doesn't take up much space. But what am I going to do with this while it's drying and things still dry very slowly because I have an oil layer on top? I'm kind of running out of places to lay all my paintings out. Also, for storing, I'm not really sure how to store them safely. I don't think that I should be piling them on top of each other. So please let me know in your comments if you have a good solution how to store paintings on paper. I have some ideas, but they all don't seem great. So I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do that. So I'm gonna stand here and tell you I love abstracts. Why am I doing this? Because there is so much resistance in me because of my family background, where abstracts wasn't looked at as real art. They were into realism, and that was real art, and abstracts, it was like this, oh, everybody can do it. And so I still have a bit of a resistance towards admitting that that's what I love. I'm not saying I will be doing abstracts only, but I actually love abstracts. So there it is. Let yourself be you. Do not copy anybody. Do not copy the art that you love. You might love that art because it's a balance to who you are. It might be the pure opposite of who you are as a painter. If you're a crazy, loud, out there energetic painter, you might actually love the minimalist, calm, quiet paintings. But if you force yourself to do that, and Ella Milan says that too, and I think that's one of the best pieces of information. If you force yourself to make art that you think you would love, but that is not your personality type as an artist, you are going to burn out, and you're not going to have the motivation to paint because you're forcing yourself to be someone that you're not. So I think that information is really good. So you might not even like the art that you make that much yourself. Honestly, I still hope that I will like my own art in some way or other. But let yourself be you. Don't judge yourself. Also separate who you like as people and who like your art. Separate that, because it's not a personal thing as much as a personality thing, and that's something different. I love people who are different than me, and people who are different than me might really like my paintings, or they might really not understand it. I can still like these people, right? So I still like you if you don't like this. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I hope you still like me, even if you don't like this piece. I'm not saying this is a masterwork, not at all, but I had so much fun making this. You are not forced to make an abstract at all. You can paint whatever you want to paint. So the next section is mark making, which is basically drawing materials, and then you put acrylics and oils on top. So I used oil pastels, charcoal, all kinds of things. And what you want to do is you really want to make sure that you don't cover up your whole drawing level. One thing you want to make sure, calculate enough time for priming the paper, and or for maybe you draw before you prime and then you prime over the drawing, basically. They say it takes about 20 minutes to be dry. Make sure it's really dry before you continue with acrylics, because if that priming layer is still a little bit humid, oh my goodness, it's going to be a mess. It didn't happen to me on this because I already knew this, but it happened to me before I did the mastery program once. Oh man, it's gross. It's it's horrific. With this one, I tried to just not have any kind of a source at all. I don't know if I like it, but I know it had a lot of really ugly stages. And what I kept myself saying to myself, and what I want to encourage you to say to yourself, is the good old saying, in the end, it will all be good. If it's not good, it's not the end. Because you can with acrylics and oils. With watercolor, you can't. And I did quite a lot of watercolor stuff before doing the mastery program. And there you really want it to be perfect with the first brush stroke. The less you do, the better. And here I'm kind of enjoying the fact that I can just go over it if I don't like it. So much so that you have to be careful that you don't cover up everything, right? But I think it's kind of fun. It's funky. I had a great time. I had such a good time doing this that I didn't even care so much about whether I like it or not in the end. And remember how last time I said I'm getting so worried about what's going to be coming out of me and are people going to like it? But the truth is, if I genuinely love something I made because it's super authentic and it's me, and as an artist I was able to bring forth what I felt like needed to be brought forth, then I'm not going to be dependent on people saying how great it is, and I'm not going to be hurt if somebody doesn't like it, because it's true for me. And so that's actually a good way to know whether you have found your style. So I truly believe that if you found your style and if you have said what you needed to say, it doesn't matter so much. There are always going to be people who don't like it and people who like it. Now, this isn't so much about this. I don't think I'm going to build a portfolio around this necessarily, but I have fun. So there you go. It was hours of my life well spent. And then for this one, for the drawing layer, I also didn't use any kind of a source. Then after I was done with the drawing layer, I went to look at some photographs of wildflowers. And I used two different sources, or I shouldn't call them sources, two reference photos, which was a little bit difficult because they were quite different in some ways. But instead of using a source, I just used references, And that worked quite well for me because I stayed really loose because of that. So again, I used too big a sheet. I think they want you to use half a sheet. My husband calls this Yearning Blossoms, and I think that's a lovely name. I didn't have a title come to mind. I am going to show you the 3 layers here because I think that's interesting too. It's the drawing layer, then the acrylics on top, and then the oil painting. I also have a time-lapse video of this one. So yeah, that's my tip for looseness. The large sizes is one of the tips for looseness, and also not using an exact source. I know I get too close to the sources all the time. And so if I use reference photos instead that just show me elements of what's going to be in my painting, I am able to stay much looser. So that worked. I'm reasonably happy with the outcome because it's not photorealism, even though it looks almost like it from far away. But if you look close, there's a lot of the crazy mark making stuff in there, and really not any precision. I'm annoyed at the tape because even though I have the good tape, they're still bleeding under the tape. I don't know. If you have a tip for me about how to avoid that, let me know. Last but not least, we have these two. These are with spray paint as the first layer. My husband called it fairy tale land or something. Yeah, why not? They are a little fairy tale-ish. I went back to the half sheets because that's what they say, and I tried to do what they say. But I think honestly, for spray paint, the bigger the better. I don't feel that I was really able to use what spray paint does best. I thought I was gonna like spray paint. I think I might, and I will, but on larger sizes. I covered up a lot. There's some lace that I used to, spray on top. So my tip here is, it's obvious, but I didn't wear gloves. So if you're going to be holding, at least on the hand that you're holding the lace with, and then you stay on top. I mean, it's water soluble spray paint, the one that I'm using. It's indoor spray paint. It was really hard to get off my hand. I'm not generally a stupid person, but I guess I'm like, sometimes I just can't be bothered. And that's not a good habit because it kind of spreads into other things. You want to be clean in your work process. They both have birds, which was not at all planned. I did the spray paint layer with a bit of an idea in my head. And this, I just used spray paint and then let something develop from it. And it's kind of accidental that they both have birds in them. The reason they look kind of cohesive is more because of the colors. And this is something I want to give you as a tip. So I didn't really know, I had a suspicion that I really might like spray paint, but I wasn't sure. And I'm a bit tight on money at the moment. And so I wasn't going to buy like 10 cans of spray paint. I bought 3. I suggest you don't buy a pack of 6 colors. Honestly, the 6 colors, every single one of them is ugly, in my opinion. So I would suggest you always put together your own colors. I only bought 3 cans, and I put a lot of thought into it. If you already have something like brand colors, or if you have your favorite colors, because those are most likely going to show up in all your artworks. There are some paints that I use in every single painting just because I love it so much. And I made sure that it's a good color palette and that they're me colors. For me, the sets that they had were like all like not a single color in there is what I want to use. So I would say it's better to have 3 colors and all of them ones that you really love. That being said, make sure you have one really dark one light one, and maybe one medium color one. I'm talking about value here. And it's also good to have the spray paint type that has transparent and opaque spray paint. Make sure you have one of each at least. So generally, I learned a lot about my process, and that's kind of what it's all about. And there's a lot of thought work to do around that. What process do you like? Both of these paintings were, again, they were ugly for so long. And then then you try to make it pretty or kind of try to organize it after that. And I realized something I actually don't enjoy that much. Because it's such a fight when it's so ugly and you're like, oh, this is so ugly, I need to make it prettier. Or I don't want to look at this is so ugly. I can see that for some people that's a lot of fun. For me, it's very satisfying in the end when you're like, oh, now finally I managed. But it doesn't make sense to me. It's funny, right? And I think other people really, really enjoy that. So that is a part of the things that she has you observe. And you can only find these things if you try everything out. I don't think that's going to be my process, though I don't mind the final outcome. It's kind of fun. I'm okay with it. And I cannot wait to see what else is coming. Honestly, oh my goodness. One of the, for me, most exciting things is coming up next, which is going to be collage. But I am going to be gone for, I would say, at least 2 weeks. So I'm going to be missing a lot of time, which is why I kind of jumped ahead before that when there were planned breaks. I didn't take them because I knew I was going to be missing time. Because I have a little surgery coming up. No worries, but wish me luck. I'm getting a new hip. I've already got a new hip on one side and now I'm getting the other side made. I hope to be back in the studio soon, but we'll see about that. Painting with crutches, especially like collage, where you kind of need to be mobile. We'll see. But that's that, and I wish you in the meantime happy painting. I'm so happy for all of you that I at least kind of meet. I think artists are awesome people and I want to be in a community with artists. There are not that many around me here, so at least I have you guys. And that's why I really enjoy your comments, or all the ones who are in the Milan art community who then write to me and say, hi, I found you on YouTube, this is me. This is so cool. So if you have questions or wishes or anything else to share, bring it on. Happy painting. Thank you so much. See you hopefully soon-ish anyway. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment. You can also subscribe to my newsletter. You will get updates on products that I sell on Etsy. You get coupons for products that I sell on Etsy. And on the newsletter, once a month, I update you about my artistic journey, if that's interesting to you. So feel free to do that. All the links are in the description. And I wish you the very best. Bye!